Hey, welcome to The Link. The Link is a podcast created to build community through conversation. We focus on the stories of creatives, business owners, community leaders, and all-around interesting people from the community of Lincoln, Nebraska. We welcome you to come learn about your neighbors as we have a conversation with them.
Levels down a few decibels.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's probably smart. All right, welcome to the Link podcast. I am Stefan Carlson.
And I'm Andy Morrison.
And I'm Kai Joustra.
Hey, he is here. He is on the podcast. He is in front of the camera, not behind the camera today.
Yeah, he's sitting in a chair and not just a stool in the corner.
It's going to be a very strange experience.
He upgraded from a pillow fluff to a garage rolly stool.
And I moved 5 feet to the left.
Yes. Look at that. We're coming in hot.
Yeah.
So this episode is going to be a little bit different. We wanted to kind of give you an insight into our stories and give you an insight to who we are rather than just, I don't know, talk about other people all the time, I guess. We wanted to be selfish, I guess.
Yeah, we want to be selfish, pretty much.
No, we wanted to kind of open it up to questions about like why we started the podcast, why we have a podcast, and really what's been kind of going on in our lives kind of the last couple years. And so we'll kind of jump into that.
Some heavy stuff, so stay tuned.
And we are very thankful for our last episode with Liz Peck.
She killed it.
She brought up a lot of questions that I thought were good, so that's kind of why we did this episode today. So should we jump into a real quick question and then we can kind of go from there?
So everybody kind of posted on their stories on posing some questions for us, since it is just the three of us, and maybe we're not good at asking each other questions. Who knows? But we have some questions from the audience. I'm going to, after I pull them up,
Liz's episode was one of the highest performing, so thank you all for that. Probably one of the most listens we've had.
Yeah.
Especially for, Stanzix had more, but their following was
all
way higher than Liz.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive that she got so many listens.
Yeah. Shout out. Andy, you got this question yet?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, goodness, where'd they go? Oh, my gosh, I lost them.
Kai's got his.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how to work my phone.
The one that I have
there we go.
Is...
Oh, I got it. I got it. Too bad. I guess that's a good one to preface with was having a podcast like what you expected?
It's a good question.
I personally generally yes, I knew I was gonna have awesome conversations with people, but I think mentally and just the way you have to approach things sometimes and just the way it makes you think is not what I expected it to be, and I think that's really cool. And it's definitely
what do you mean?
I mean just accommodating for another human in this weird medium, and I think it just is I am used to just talking to people on the street or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it's just a different it's different.
Yeah. I honestly had zero expectations. I am even surprised that anybody listens to us.
Very thankful for that.
So thank you for those people. I guess the whole reason why we started a podcast was really, we felt like Lincoln as a community is really unique and diverse, and that nobody was really, getting to the heart of those stories. That
it's not getting the attention that it deserves.
Yeah, and nobody's really highlighting people that maybe most people have never heard of. I mean, we're not interviewing the owner of Runza or something like that, where it's oh, he's a big corporation and he has a lot of clout or whatever. We're interviewing people that are really real, relatable people, and I think that's that's what should be highlighted in our culture today.
That's tight.
How about you, Kai?
I think it's like the amount of people that have listened to it, like the numbers itself is about like along the lines of what I expected at this point. But like when I'm out and about with you and the amount of people that are like, hey, I listen to the podcast and I love it is very surprising. Like I didn't expect that many people to like mention it and have listened to it.
Yeah, I definitely didn't either.
There's
Anytime
like
somebody
tons
brings that up, I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, and there's like just like tons of like general interest, which is like super sick. Like all like people would be like, oh, like what are you doing this evening? Oh, I'm just like we're recording a podcast with my friends. Like, oh, like what's your podcast? Like, let me listen to it. I'm like, that's sick. That like somebody's like was that interested in like I guess wanting to hear me talk and ask people questions, which is just really cool. Kai, what has it been like? Like, has producing this podcast been like what you expected it to be, or like how has that been for you? Because this is like new ground for you.
When we first brought up the idea of the podcast, Kai almost pooped himself. He was so excited. He went. He got like. I was like, can we put like an Amazon list together for like all of the mics and stuff that we would need?
Had a list
and Kai already had a list down. So I'm just gonna preface with that, but you can answer the question too.
I mostly liked the idea of being able to call myself a producer now.
Put it on his resume.
Add that to your resume.
It's surprisingly easy once you have. I mean, the actual like process of it is surprisingly easy, especially we use Anchor, and you just throw it up there and it pushes it out to every single podcast network you can think of.
And we don't really edit.
Yeah.
I mean, we try and just stream it.
Once we start, it goes to the end and then we throw it up.
Yep.
No revisions, no nothing.
Yeah.
So if I say something suspicious, which probably is going to happen one of these days.
It's just out there.
Yeah.
The only time we've had cuts is when we've accidentally unplugged the mics and lost
That's
everything.
true. I remember that.
I've done my best to make it not noticeable though.
Yeah.
And also make our set foolproof with the new, like the copious amounts of gaff tape.
Yes. There's gaff tape everywhere.
Is that one of your favorite things? Mm-hmm. You really like gaff tape?
A couple days ago, I was gaff taping random things in my room.
What are some things that you wish people would talk about more in Lincoln, or just in general?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, talk about things that I think are like, I mean, look down upon in a sense, or not like look down upon, but like oh, like you're not supposed to talk about those things, or like just like negative things in general for one, but like maybe in Lincoln more specifically. I don't know, man.
I think we need to break the Midwestern like mentality of not sharing your emotions, which I mean, it is bound to happen here because things work from the coasts in, and people on the coasts are very emotive, and eventually it is going to get to the Midwest.
Happens.
Yeah,
I think that, and like I think one of the things that I've never really realized about the Midwest, like you said, is like just how passive aggressive we are compared to like the coasts, where it's like, I feel like in the East Coast, people just yell at you, but you never know, you're never going to guess if they're mad at you. Whereas like here, you're like, no, you're great, it's fine. And on the inside, you're like,
why would they do that to me?
Yeah.
We need to be honest, guys. I thought we were supposed to be honest.
Yeah. Honest, hardworking Midwest boys.
Not about our emotions,
That's what we
though.
are. Yeah.
Gotta hide them. Cowboys aren't supposed to be soft. We're not cowboys.
not even close.
Man, I wish though.
What do you think, like on like the emotion sharing, like what's like stuff that you have gone through that you're like, man, I wish I would have talked about this more, or I wish I would have either explained to somebody what was going on, or I wish I could help somebody out that's going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are some of those things that
I mean, I
you would
think
say?
like recently, I mean, like this last quarter of life, like my parents split, and that was like a big thing that like I mean, like going into it, I think that it was kind of like, still now I'm like, I think like talking about it was like burdening and like all this stuff. I felt weird like having all these emotions bottled up, but maybe like the other question you asked, and like it provided me like so much perspective to like want to like listen to other people's stories that like were similar, or like other people's hardships, because it like gave me like so much more of like an actual emotion that I didn't know how to like. It's just like confusion and like I'm feeling, I don't know what like is like other people have gone through this, and like I just want to listen and like be there for them.
Yeah. What do you think kind of like changed in your brain when that happened? Like, did it shatter your world, and then it was like, okay, how do I reconstruct from here? Or was it like a slow burn of like I can't believe this happened. Like, why is this happening? Like, how did you process through that? I'm sure you're still processing.
I'm still processing for sure. And so like my gears are turning really fast. If I sound confusing, I apologize. But I think a lot of it was like, I like knew it was happening. Like my like mom had called me, and then I was like a weird like just like, oh, okay. And then like as time went on, like more things started like piling up, and like I was feeling like the emotions of like my parents, and like the pressure, like a weird pressure from them, and like also like worrying about my sister. And I think like coming like to I don't even know like how to I lost myself already.
That's all right.
It's tough.
Yeah. Start over.
I think it was just more like a slow burn more than anything, because it was just like you kind of just have to ride it out almost.
Yeah.
It's not like a problem that you can just like tackle,
wake up and solve.
Yeah. It's like you just kind of have to like wait and like be okay with like being in that situation, even though like it really sucks and it's like really weird and new in a negative way.
Mm-hmm. What's been like the biggest like saving grace in all of it? Is there like one thing you can point to and be like, that's what helped me, is helping me walk through this? Or is it like a thing where you're like, I don't know if anything helps?
I mean, I think like just like getting my mind off of it. So like I'm like really thankful for like all my like friends, for sure. Just like spending time with them and not having to like focus on like what is like that like kind of like pressure in my life. And it was like that helped a lot, like just like still like continuing to live life, because like you like that happened and I'm like, okay, like what do I do with my life, and like what is like my mom do with her life? Like I was stressing about that, and like my dad, like what is he gonna do? And so I was like just like knowing that like everybody else around me is like still moving, like going, and like even like just the fact that like I knew like people were there for me like really helped a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would say that. I mean, I think watching you like go through it, you've gone through it with a lot of honestly like grace and smoothness in my opinion. Like if my parents split, I don't know what all the emotions that I would be going through. So like it's really cool to be able to see you kind of like grow into who you are through that situation. And yeah, I think
thank you. Yeah, because it was like really like I was like when it like was happening, like I was super concerned onto like I'm like, okay, like why am I not like feeling like these like super direct emotions that I'm so used to feeling like growing up? Like why am I not like crying right now? Like why am I not feeling like the same sadness that I've felt? It was just like new emotions, and I was just like trying to handle it like the best and like most level-headed and understanding I could.
Yeah, what do you think that your opinion on it has already changed since it has happened?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's kind of stayed the same as far as like, this sucks, I hate this, let's change or go back to what it was? Or do you think it was like, now you're like, okay, I've accepted it and this is what it is? Or
I think early on, like the first thing I wanted to do was like just accept it, because like that is like probably one of the hardest things to do ever. Is like, I mean, like I wasn't gonna, like there was like a few evenings where I was like really like frustrated like in the beginning and like as like the process was starting, but it was like, I can't do anything about this. Like I can't save my parents' relationship or like anything like that. And so like I just was like needed to tell myself like, okay, like, but like what can you do like moving forward?
So like being able to focus on like actually doing something rather than just like letting it happen to you.
Letting it happen. Yeah. It was like, how can I, like, it was like instant, like, how can I support like everybody who's also going through this with me? Like how, like, and like, I think like I was trying to spread myself way too thin, but I was like, just like trying to figure out like how like I could help everybody else make it the easiest for them, because that's what like was most important to me. Like what was like most stressful would be like, this is gonna suck for everybody.
Yeah. Do you think do you think you can like relate to more people now because of that?
I seriously like, even like just going back to like friends that I grew up with, and like when I would like hear like, oh, like my parents split, like I was like, dude, that sucks, like I'm really sorry, like what can I do for you? But like now, like I wish I like not like I would have gone through this sooner, because I just don't wish it for anybody. But it was like, I now know, like I like wish that I could have like really understood like those people who had gone through it before me. And like, because like now like I felt that, and I was like, this is what like that really feels like. And there's so many situations in life where you're not gonna know like what you're never gonna actually get like an honest feeling on like somebody's emotions going through like a hardship unless you have gone through something like the exact same, or unless you were
or similar
in their situation. It's like, it's like somebody falls and scrapes their knee, and like, oh, like, I'm sorry you scraped your knee, but you didn't know how that felt. That's a really small problem, but it's like, and so I was just like, I wanted to, it's just like knowing like how it feels. I want to be there for other people as much as I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I guess so.
I honestly didn't know that. I mean, we've talked about it multiple times, but it's cool to like hear that, like that side of it, where it's like, cool, I've gone through this. I would like to help other people understand what I've gone through and what they're currently or they're going to go through. So that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always gonna, I hate to sound so cliche, but I'm like always gonna try and like find the positive in like something so negative and dark, because I think there is like something beautiful that you can always learn from that, like from a bad experience. And it's just like, why not? Instead of,
there's been times in my life where I didn't believe that.
Oh, like like I didn't, like growing up, but like for sure, like as I've gotten older and like have like seen so much more of the world and like so much other things that I was not used to when I was a kid, like I'm like, man, like why not do that?
Yeah, I agree. What have you seen, Kai?
I was just gonna ask, do you think or how do you think it affected you differently than it would have like if you had still lived with them when it happened?
I'm gonna be honest, I think it would have hit. No, that's really hard to answer, because I think it was frustrating to me, because like my dad like moved and my mom was left here with the house and like all this stuff, and I like almost wanted to move back because I was like worried about her and like all that stuff. And so I think maybe living there would have made things easier, but it, like in the process would have been way stressful, because I know that like there was some intense conversations that were happening. Like I witnessed like a handful, like being there and like trying to mediate like between the two. And I think like in the moment it would have been like a lot heavier, but being away from it, it was emotions not as strong, but still like feeling tied to the situation like by a leash.
You feel like you can't help as much because you're not physically there.
Yeah, which sucks, but I think that just like goes for everything. Like it's like a not long distance relationship is way better than a long distance relationship, based on the fact that you can like physical interaction is like just great with all humans. It's like we're making eye contact, having this conversation. It's like having this conversation over the phone would not be as meaningful based on just human interaction. But yeah, thank you for asking these questions. Wow. I think, yeah, this last quarter of life has kind of been a toughie for, I mean, you and I, like in different ways, Stefan.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you want to share about any of that? Like, I would love to hear.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess for the people out there that don't know, the last essentially 3 years have been kind of, they've had tremendous and amazing moments, and I wouldn't trade them for anything, but they've also had a lot of loss. But if you know me, like I hardly ever am focused on the loss side of it. Even like with having Wilder, it's like, even when I don't sleep at night, it's like super cool to be able to wake up in the morning and be like hanging out with him. It's like he's an actual human being. Like that's cool. You
created him.
It's just like cool to have him there, you know. But to kind of give you more of a background, I guess, is so we had a house fire in 2016. So the garage we're sitting in now, I built it with the help of a lot of people right before the fire, and then the fire happened while the garage was still being built. A couple of neighborhood kids decided to light a Boy Scout flint and a gas can next door, and they were playing Nazi zombies.
That's sick.
And they lit a gas can on fire, lit their garage on fire, then lit our house on fire. The cops came and talked to all the kids, and this is my favorite part of the story. They all got together and said that a rocket hit the garage, and that's how it caught on fire.
That's plausible.
Yeah, very plausible.
2020, come on. There's drones flying in
So,
western Nebraska.
So that happened. So I think that was kind of I don't know if you would call it that was like a warm up to the next loss. But so we lost our house and we put it all back together, and now we have our house. And then my wife Brooke and I got pregnant in the spring of, I guess it'd be spring. Yeah. Summer-ish of 2019. We were not trying to have kids. So it was a bit of a surprise. And then about 8 weeks later, we found out we were having twins.
Come on now.
We both
double whammy.
We both were like, okay, we were already not planning on having kids, and now we're bringing two of them into the world. So we're like, holy cow, this is crazy. So we did that first ultrasound and realized how we had twins, and then they're what's called monodi twins. So they're identical, but they share the same placenta, for all of those people that don't know what that means. And it's pretty high risk to both of them to have that. And so we went to a high risk doctor, and they did a whole bunch of tests and everything, and we figured out that one of them had way less share of the placenta than the other one. And they were pretty much like, either he's not going to make it, or we can send you to have this surgery to see if we can basically save both of their lives. And so from there, it was like, from August to now has been literally like the longest, but also the shortest year of my life. Like, I don't know, I guess it's not even a year. That's only 4 months. So it felt like forever, but it also felt like the time went like super fast. So we had a surgery in August to basically split the blood vessels between the two babies, and the surgery was successful. Both babies were healthy. And then at the end of September, it was like 2 days before my birthday, I think. 2 or 3 days before my birthday, we found out that one of them had passed, and we were naming him Indy. So we found out that we lost Indy, but Wilder was still okay. And so just processing through that was just a really shitty thing.
Yeah, terrible. Because there was just like so much to process, like an absolute roller coaster, like of this journey of like how you were gonna like perceive parenthood. It was like, Brooke's pregnant, we're gonna have twins, and then like that happens, and it's like, what?
Yeah, it was a weird.
You're just getting thrown through the ringer.
It was a weird roller coaster of emotions, as far as like, we do have this surgery, so the surgery is very has a good success rate, but not for this type of twins and all of these things. So it was kind of like we were doing weekly ultrasounds, and it was like every day we walked in, and it was like, or every week we walked in, and it was literally like, okay, is this the time that they're going to tell us that there isn't a heartbeat? Or is this the time that they're going to be like, he's fine? And that. And so being 27 years old, I did not think I would have lost a house to a fire and lost a child.
Yeah.
By this age. So it's just kind of a weird thing to go through. But I would say for us, I think the weirdest part, just to like call out all of the, I guess not tension in the room, but like the awkwardness of it all, is like we signed a birth certificate and a death certificate in the same day. And it's just like, it's just,
yeah,
I've never in my mind thought that would happen. And I never in my mind thought that there would be a chance that would happen.
Yeah. These are things that you just like cannot plan for, and it's gotta like just take it as it comes, which really sucks.
And we had Wilder, and he's healthy, he's great, he has 6 fingers,
he's awesome. He's so
great.
cool. He's got your wife's nose, but then your like mouth and chin, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's been amazing to have him, but it's also been really interesting because like both Brooke and I will have like moments where we're like looking at him, we're like, because they were identical twins. So it's like we're looking at him, we're like, man, we would be looking at the same baby, so he would be looking exactly the same as him.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a super hard like thing to have, and we're working through that. And I guess why we're even talking about this is like, I just wanted to, one, just call out any sort of like stigma around sharing hard things.
Yeah.
And processing hard things, and being like okay with where you're at. Like, you don't have to, like, if you're going through something right now, you don't have to be like, it's great, and do the Midwest thing.
Yeah.
Where everybody asks, how are you? And you're like, good. When really,
I'm going through all these tough things.
and so, I mean, I would encourage you, if you have a group of people around you, just to be able to share that and like walk through it with them and like be okay with where you're at.
And it's like also because then it makes, like, if we can, like, if not that like this is going to change the world or Lincoln, but like if people can like change that stigma of like being okay with like things not being okay, then it like, I think would also help others be able to like help and like, like, because like when all these things were happening, I was like, I like don't know what actions to take to like support you and help you. Like but I think like it's because like the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, are we just supposed to like shove these things under the bed and like not worry about it and like.
Yeah, and like not talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think that's like, especially with like miscarriages and stuff like that, it's like, I also wanted to share because it's like from a guy's perspective too, because like I don't think women talk about it to each other a lot, but also like rarely do guys talk about it. Like I don't think I've heard one dad that's had a miscarriage be like open about what they've felt or what they've gone through. Because yeah, it is traumatizing to both, but like it definitely is to the mom because you have that growing inside of you. Whereas
it's
like
so much more confusing for the guy because you've never met them.
Yeah.
Whereas the mom.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's like
with it.
I got more emotional about Indy passing away after Wilder was born. Because I was like, when like I didn't think I'd love him as much as I do. Like, not that I don't like kids or not that I didn't think I would like him, but like I did not think that like as soon as he came out, I would just be like, man, like I want to give this kid every opportunity he can ever receive. And like I've
never gone through it, but isn't that,
it's weird. It's really weird. And it's just like, it's not that I'm obsessed with him, but it's just like,
that's okay to be. That's what parents are, I thought.
I just like, it just didn't occur to me that it would happen. And it's like, now that I feel that love and that connection to him, it's like, I would have felt the same for Indy also. So like, I think that's a weird,
like
even,
just like
even
seeing
harder.
like the potential parallels in life and like oh what like could have been, or like imagine like what would be happening right now if X didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that plus just like the sheer like weight of it became more real. It's like that was like a human life, and like I was able to see him when we had him, even though he was like stillborn or whatever, and it was just like, whoa, like that was a human being.
Yeah.
And that was like my son. Like that's, even just saying that, I'm like, woof.
Yeah.
like that's pretty wild, and pretty intense. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with any of this.
I think it's just good to verbalize it more than anything.
I just wanted to talk about it and just let people know that like wherever you're at and whatever loss or anything that you're going through and whatever you're feeling right now, like it's okay to feel that way.
Like way more than okay. That's life.
Yeah. I think so many times we just, especially in social media, and I want to try really hard, and Brooke and I both are trying really hard to not like paint this beautiful picture of our lives, because it's so easy to like post a cute picture and write a caption that's like, this was really hard, but everything's okay.
Yeah.
And like, that's like that's not true sometimes. Like, great if that is true, but a lot of times it's not true, and that's okay too. So yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions you want to ask me about it, but that's kind of all I wanted to talk about.
I'm just like, so that's like, just thankful that like that's something that like you want to share, and like it's just cool that you want to, and like make sure that like other people know that it is okay. Like, that's awesome that you like it's so brave. That was what I was looking for. But
I just don't want anybody to ever feel the way I do, because it really sucks. But if you feel the way I do, it's okay. And it's not abnormal to feel that way. So, yeah.
Thank you.
How did you process the like extreme high of having your first child and having a stillbirth at the same time?
Like in the hospital and stuff?
Yeah, because that's a really unique situation that like nobody goes through. And there's no like handbook on how to process that.
That's such a good question, Kai.
Yeah. I think I'm still processing through it. Like, I think that's going to be most of my life just growing up with Wilder. But like in the moment, we kind of mentally prepared ourselves, because it was like he passed at 32 weeks. So we had a bit of time to process that. But like as far as like in the hospital, it was more just kind of like taking it as it comes, and just like I said before, like feeling whatever I needed to feel at that point. Like, if you know me and you know my family, we cry all the time. And like just like not being embarrassed to like cry in a hospital in front of people. Like, I just tried to like let out whatever I needed to let out, because I felt like in that moment that was right. But I don't know if it was, but that's what it felt like. So, and I will say, like, the nurses at St. E's when we were there, like, amazing. Like, there's this head nurse, or I don't even know if she's a head nurse, but she's like the head of the bereavement department or whatever at St. E's. And man, I'd love her to have her on the podcast. She's amazing. She just like, you could tell like she had done this before, and not necessarily our situation, but just like had a loss before and had like dealt with it before. And she was like the most professional, but also the most caring human being that I've ever met. And she like honestly was probably like the biggest shining light in that whole time, because like Brooke was going through the same things that I was going through. So normally, like in our relationship, a lot of times we process loss differently than each other. So like a lot of times I'm like, I feel the emotion, it sucks really bad, and then I kind of like process and get past it. Whereas like her, it's like a super slow burn of like, it takes her a lot longer to process through things, and it takes her a lot longer to like cope through things. And that's why I would say like the fire was like a warm-up, because we like,
no pun intended.
No, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Whereas like I could understand how she processes loss, and I could understand how I process loss, and how each of those things is equally valuable, that we process those things differently. But it more helped me understand like, okay, like 6 months from now, I need to make sure and still be asking the questions like, are you okay? Like what's the emotion today? Like, how do you feel about this still? Like, because before I would have just been like, well, I'm over it, so obviously she's over it, which isn't the case. So Still working through it. I think like, if I can bring Lincoln into the podcast, like, we just have such an amazing community of friends and family around us. Like when it happened, it was like a meal was at our door that night, and like flowers were at our door that night, and like it was just like immediate. Like our community was just like, yep, we see it, we see it sucks, let's help in any way we can. And so it was super gratifying to have that community around it. It didn't make it easier, but it made it I guess more bearable.
That's sweet.
How terrifying is it to have a 2-week-old baby?
Wobbly neck is real.
It's not a hoax. Wobbly neck is real.
Yeah.
Heard it here first.
I mean, I never grew up with newborns. Like a lot of my family members, when I was little, they were little too. So I'd never really had that. And I even texted my brother, I think it was when we found out, or it was like a little bit after we found out that we were pregnant. I just texted him and was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry I wasn't more happy for you. And I'm sorry I wasn't more like there for your kids' lives. Because like especially now that he's here, I'm like, man, this is really cool. And this is like really awesome to have. And I wish I was more present with them. And like I was there, but I wasn't as engaged as I would like to be. But like having a 2-week-old is interesting. It's so like the first 5 nights, like I didn't sleep because he wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep because I was worried about him. Like Brooke's been more laid back about him than I have. Like as far as like, oh, he's fine, don't worry about him. And I'm just like, I never want to go through losing him because I've lost Indy. So I'm just like, I never want to have that feeling again.
Yeah.
Like one of the nights she was like, I like got up like 4 times and was like listening, like, is he breathing? Like, is he alive? Like everything's good. Cause it's like, he's quiet. Why is he quiet? And I like got back into bed and she was like, she's fine. Like, don't worry about him. And I was just like, I just don't ever want to have to go through this again. And like cried for like 20 minutes because I just was like, all of the emotion of like the loss and now having a new life, I'm like holding on to that so tightly. And I think that's not the right way to do it, but that's what it is right now. I was just like, don't mess with my kid. Like
nothing.
Yes, like don't. But it's also because he's so helpless at this stage. Whereas like I feel like once he becomes more of like a toddler and just rolling around all over the place, I'm gonna be like, let's build a climbing wall. Let's like, let's do like crazy things together. But
put him on a dirt bike.
So put him on a dirt bike. Yeah.
Yep.
He's gonna be a gnarly kid, dude.
I want to get there's this like carrier thing for the kids. That's like almost like a puppet thing. It looks like a puppeteer thing for your kids, but it's like a harness. And I want to get one. I think he can be in it as soon as like 8 months or something like that. I want to get him and then get him some little vans and take him to the bay and have him go up and down ramps.
Just so he's used to it.
Just so he's already into it. But
you've been having him watch surf videos and
oh yeah, he's been watching surf videos almost every morning.
That's sick.
Getting him primed.
I'm so just like stoked that like this kid that you guys are gonna raise.
Yeah,
he's gonna be awesome.
I'm pumped.
Heck yeah.
Any other questions, or should we jump to questions?
I don't have anything else. Not yet.
That was good.
Sorry for those of you that were like expecting an amazing podcast.
I feel like we need to put in like, from this time to this time, we talked about sad things. Just to let you know.
Well, it is sad things, but it's also like I feel like you have to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
Or else nobody will, or nobody will feel like they can talk about them.
Yeah.
So
no shoving under the bed anymore. None. Not allowed.
No rug sweeping.
No rug sweeping. Vacuum it.
There's this podcast I listened to like a couple years ago. It's called Terrible. Thanks for asking.
That's awesome.
And it just talks about sad things. And I think I just listened to it because I've never like experienced any deep loss or sadness. Mm-hmm. So I listened to it to like
empathy,
what
grow
it
your
felt
empathy.
like.
Yeah.
Kai,
that's interesting.
I think
I haven't had anything drastic happen.
knocking on wood.
What's been like the biggest growth or learning experience, like post high school, post college, like moving here? Like what? I've never asked you this, so this is be interesting. But like, what do you think like the biggest learning curve, or what do you think you've?
Yeah, I mean, not having money for 6 months out of the year is weird, because for people who don't know, I do wedding videos, so all my income comes in 8 months of the year, and throughout the winter I'm completely broke. So that's been super strange. It's been interesting comparing like where I am in life compared to people I graduated with, because they're all graduating this year from college. Yeah. And I've been done with school for basically like 3 years. And been married for 2 years, and they're all starting to get married. It's strange how like ahead of everything I am, but it feels normal.
Yeah. No, I will 100% agree with that. Like, I didn't go to college, but I got married at 19, and like I'd been in my career or my craft for essentially 4 years before anybody else was like jumping into quote unquote real life. So I definitely feel that.
It's crazy. Yeah, and I feel like I'm at the other end of the triangle spectrum of I'm not going to school.
The triangle spectrum.
I'm 20, and I think like right now I'm like, either I can make a decision that can like set the tone of my life like for the rest of my, like that's how my life would be, or I can just continue to being like doing like whatever the hell I want to do, not knowing, which is kind of fun. It's terrifying. But yeah, I think I have a little bit of a fear of like I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life, just because I don't know.
I'll call out a huge stigma now again. You don't have to decide what you have to do for the rest of your life.
I tried to tell myself today, I was at a red light, and I was like, Andy, it's okay that you don't know what you want to do with your life right now.
Yeah. I think for somebody like you or like Kai that like
grew up unorthodox.
Well, not necessarily grew up unorthodox, but just like you have a drive that's different than other people.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
And you have like, I think, a different amount of like emotional intelligence to not follow the normal route.
Well, thank you.
As far as like, not that it's like you don't have emotional intelligence if you go to college. That's not what I'm saying.
No. So, props to everybody who goes to college, because I would not be able to do that. No way.
But I think it's just like knowing who you are and following what you really love to do. Like, you probably didn't think, Kai, that you would be doing as many videos as you're doing. And you probably didn't think you'd have as many weddings as you do.
Even like senior year, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I never would have imagined I'd be working for myself 4 years from then.
Yeah. That's
I was
really
still
cool.
thinking I'd be like going to architecture school or business school or something like that.
And now you're like, I'd never want to do that.
Yeah. That sounds horrible.
This is so good.
I got a 2-year entrepreneurship degree, and that was awful enough.
That's craziness. Do you want to investigate some questions?
Yeah. The one question we got on the Instagram is, what kind of guests would you like to interview?
All kinds.
Yes, anything, everything, and nothing.
You don't. Here's the biggest thing. You don't have to have a huge Instagram following, or you don't have to have.
I don't care who you are, but I care who you are.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I just want to know unique stories in Lincoln, and even if you don't think your story is necessarily unique, it is, because it's your story.
And like even somebody who doesn't even have like an Instagram, like that's, I mean, like the easiest way to reach out to somebody, but like get somebody's mom on the podcast. Like that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Just like anybody.
Let's do this.
Cool moms only.
Cool moms only. No, I'm kidding. We love you all. All moms rule. But I've got a few here. Does anybody know of any upcoming must-see events in Lincoln for 2020?
Must-see events?
Must go to? I don't know anything about 2020, man.
Man.
I'm going to be honest. 2020 happened, and I'm like, what's... I have really bad tunnel vision right now,
The Bay
I
and
think.
Goldenrod Cafe is going to be opening.
It's going to be super
March?
sick.
In March.
1st,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. So keep your eyes out on that.
Andy will be once again employed.
Yeah. She's going to be sick. I'm not, like, not employed, but I'm not employed.
And also, rumor on the street, don't quote me on this, but Scarlet Raven is moving next door to the Goldenrod Cafe as well.
So Scarlet Raven is a really sick tattoo shop in Lincoln that's like located right now on like 42nd and O Street.
Something like that, yeah.
But then they're going to be moving down to Y Street and going to be the Bay and Goldenrod's neighbor as well. And so I think like that's going to be like a really cool pocket.
There's
now.
some amazing art too that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like
The
all of their
tattoo shop, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yes. All of their tattoo artists are artists as well, and they have some really cool stuff. So shout out Scarlet Raven.
Shout out Scarlet Raven.
We should have Cody on the podcast.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
And then which musicians or artists in any form of art are changing the game for you?
Changing the game.
Changing the game. Whew. That's a deep question. That's a really good question. It's hard to answer.
Did it say local or just any artist in general?
Any artist in general. Like any form. I'm thinking musicians are sticking out to me mostly. But there's like so many cool people out there that are doing so many cool things all the time.
Just name them, Andy.
That I haven't even heard of yet. I saw Charlie Crockett last night. He was great.
He was here?
He was at the Bourbon
no
Theater.
idea.
Man, I met him. So I parked on Centennial Mall and I was walking to get Yaya's before the show, because that's just what you do when you go to the Bourbon Theater. And he was walking out of the alley behind those buildings, and I like just looked over to my left and I was like, oh shit. I was like, hey. He goes, how you doing? And I'm like, doing good. I'm gonna be seeing you later. And then he was like, oh, you coming to the show tonight? And I was like, hell yeah, I am. Welcome to Lincoln.
What a great interaction.
Because I mean, I think he changes the game because of just, he's so old school and is like literally like looks like he is like a musician out of like a country musician out of like the late 40s, early 50s. And it's just like that, like it just has like an aura around him. And so I was just like, I guess starstruck.
Oh man,
in a sense.
Andy doesn't get starstruck
I
often.
didn't think I did, but it was just like really cool.
I think for me, Thrice has always been like my favorite band ever.
Mm-hmm.
Their lyrics are so much deeper than like just rock music. So I really enjoy their music in their latest album. Noah Gunderson, I feel like
He's good.
I feel like he also asks questions that nobody wants to ask, and sings about things that nobody else wants to sing about.
I think that's a cool thing, that like, what is art? It's like, that's like a medium to like do those things.
Yeah.
Because you could be somebody that just asks those questions and people are like, you're crazy. Why are you asking those questions? But if somebody makes it beautiful, then like it like is easy, I guess, like opens up.
Easy to digest.
It's easy to digest that way.
What podcasts are you into?
There's a lot of, I'm listening to a lot of coffee podcasts right now.
What?
Yeah, because I'm trying to freaking be more than a pro, man.
More than a bro?
More than a pro.
Uh-oh.
Not a bro. I don't want to be a pro at all.
You're a bro-rista.
Yeah. That's a really buff guy named Chad. He's a barista. Hey, welcome to the Bay. I'm Chad. But yeah,
Kai's got some over there.
Yeah, Kai's got plenty. I'm way more interested in what Kai has to say.
I mean, most of them are like typical podcasts people listen to.
No, probably.
Obviously, Joe Rogan. And Stuff You Should Know.
That's a cool one.
Every time they come out. There's one that I just discovered. What is it called? Pete Holmes. He's a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
He has a podcast called You Made It Weird. And he talks about like spiritual stuff with other comedians and actors and stuff.
Interesting.
It's super interesting. So like you get to like hear what those people believe. And then
do they joke about it?
Yeah. It's definitely not serious at all. Shay hates listening to it because his laugh is very obnoxious and he laughs a lot. And then I listened to the Gus and Eddie podcast. Gus Johnson and Eddie Burback are YouTube comedians. They just make stupid stuff, and their podcast is just nonsense,
outlandish,
hilarious.
But it's so funny.
Nice.
Yeah, man, you're the podcast guru. You are just like so interested in information, which is cool. And so I know like if I need to listen to a good podcast, I can come to you. If I need to learn.
If you need to get learnt.
Yeah, if I need to get learnt.
For how much I hate school, I definitely like learning.
Mm-hmm.
School's not learning.
Yeah, I guess
School
it's
is
just regurgitating information.
Yes. Sorry for all the teachers out there.
If you're a doctor or a lawyer or stuff like that, school is very, very important. If you're a business person, it can go either way.
Could help you or it could hurt you.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I've got one from, I'm going to call her out because I know she's going to be mad about it. Shay Joustra, Kai's wife, asked what makes living in Lincoln special, and also some of your favorite local spots. Spots isn't anything. I'm going to start it off with, I think, like, Lincoln's special mostly because of the people we have in it. Like, there's awesome things, but I think it's like those places are like only so awesome because of all the like amazing people that like use those spaces and like create those experiences. That's what's like most like special to me in Lincoln, for sure. If somebody says, oh, what's so cool about Lincoln, I'm gonna like always first answer is gonna be the people, even though that like sounds like, oh, like Lincoln's got nothing to do. No, but like there's so much to do if you are like amongst like all these other great people and like take that into effect.
It does sound like the cliche answer, but I've I've lived in 3 cities in my life, and within like a few months of living in Lincoln, I think I have some of the closest friends I've had out of any of those cities. I only keep in touch with like one other person from those cities, but I think if I would ever move away from here, I would always keep in touch with the 5-6 people that I have gotten to know here.
I agree. I mean, I just think that, I mean, said it a bunch of times, but I just think our community of people is pretty deep as far as like, we'll help each other out for anything. But also like, if you're in Lincoln, you feel like that's complete BS, that's okay. But there are people out there.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Don't make it BS.
Yep.
Punk. Kidding.
And he's really getting to show his personality tonight. I like it.
Yeah. I guess so.
I think I also kind of got lucky because I'm your brother-in-law and you seem to know literally everybody in Lincoln. So I just got lucky having connection to somebody that knows everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I know everybody, but I know people need people regardless of if they're an introvert, extrovert, or anything like that. So I don't know. Anytime there's somebody new, I'm like, have you met this person? Have you met this person? Like, I just always want to make sure that like everybody feels included. I think that's just a part of who I am.
You got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I got like 5 and 4 of them were crap. No offense to the people whose questions
I
I
guess
didn't
I
answer.
have some really weird questions here that I'm sorry not going to answer. You can get mad at me as much as you want, but
This one's for Andy, and it just says mustache maintenance ?
0, no maintenance. Just let it go.
We can tell.
Zero.
I'll wash my face. I will maybe trim it, maybe monthly. It doesn't really need to be trimmed because it doesn't grow. But yeah, no maintenance. Just this, I like to twirl the ends, if that counts as any maintenance. I touch it way more than I should, and it's gross that I do that. But no maintenance. I'll just wash my face, and that's when my mustache gets washed. It's
All
cool.
right. What's the next question? I'm glad your mustache got a segment.
Yeah, me too.
Has its own personality.
Alex asked if Caden, or my roommate, brushes his teeth once or twice a day. I don't know, because I think the bathroom time in our house is very sacred. It's private in there. I don't know what's ever going on in the bathroom.
Wow.
Because the Pearsons put the fan on no matter what they're doing in the bathroom. And so you can't hear anything.
Who doesn't?
Me? If I'm just going to go to the bathroom, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I got no shame.
Everybody does it.
I'm trying to live as transparent as I can.
I don't even close the door.
I'll live stream on Instagram. I'm kidding. But I have no clue. That's an anomaly.
Is it weird sharing a bathroom with someone now?
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, I'm going to keep it tidy now because I have somebody to hold me accountable. But
And Caden's a clean freak.
he's a clean freak. But also I'm learning he's got some not so tidy things about him, man.
Shane's more of a clean freak than Caden is.
No, but Caden, like, when it comes to, I think, like, Caden's kind of leaning back now that Shane doesn't live there anymore, so he doesn't have to, like, he's got me to hold him accountable, and I'm a great source. It's like,
Got nothing to prove.
he's got no shoes to fill now. It's like, oh, this scrawny kid lives across the hall from me now. Like, I don't have to worry about anything.
I can beat him up.
I can beat him up if I want to. But yeah,
Do you have any others that are good?
any other what
Questions?
Sorry. Alex wants to know any misconceptions about South Dakota, Kai.
Ooh, nope. People are gonna hate me for this, but I have zero connection to South Dakota, and
What about any misconceptions about Minnesota?
Minnesota's great. Minnesota's the best state. Everybody should move there. Just northern, like the cities and up, is great.
What's the state term for nationalism? Pride, I guess.
Statism?
Statism. Minnesotans have a lot of
Because it's the
pride.
best.
Every Minnesotan I've met has been like, Minnesota's great. Yeah. It's the best state, apparently. Welcome to the Link Podcast. This is in Lincoln, Nebraska. Where Lincoln, Nebraska is the best state. I mean, best state.
Best city. Best city in the best state.
Yeah.
The Link Podcast, where we shit on other Midwestern states.
Y'all are the North.
The Great North.
Yeah. Kansas is the South.
I got one. Kai, where is the coolest photo shoot you've done?
Ooh.
Ooh, I want to hear.
One of the coolest opportunities we had recently was, so when we went on our honeymoon, we went down to Phoenix and we stayed at this guy's development. It's called the Whitestone Flats, Whitestone Studios, Benjamin Hall Design.
Good
We
pitch
stayed
there.
in one of his developments and I made like a short little video and posted on Instagram.
It's really
so
cool.
He had us come back this December or November and we got to shoot a new video for his new development.
Sweet.
And it was super cool. We were the first people to ever stay there and got to make a video of like what it's like.
You got a
living
clean
there.
slate.
Ah, that's sweet.
That's really cool. What is a weird passion you guys would consider that you have?
I've recently become obsessed with learning how to make cocktails.
That's one. I was going to say your obsession with plants as well.
Yeah, plants too. The cocktails has eaten into our monthly budget a lot.
That's really funny. The
I've
bitters,
become
expenses, and
Yeah. I've
simple syrup.
become a snob on not buying $10 bottles of alcohol. Yeah, that's a problem.
He's not an alcoholic. He's a craftsman.
Yeah.
Yes. And he makes his own meat.
Yeah, I made my own mead last month. Andy helped me. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know the
kinda like
alcohol
squirt.
content. It just tastes like honey and water, and it tastes good.
That's tight. I saw you, advertising it on your Instagram. I knew you were proud of it, which is super sick. Maybe that's something. Have you ever thought about like further pursuing that area of passion that you've discovered?
I think if I start to get too old to be a wedding filmmaker, and people don't want a 50-year-old guy
You don't want to
showing
be
up
that
at their
guy.
weddings,
I don't want you to be that guy.
I feel like now I have some other skill that I'll have honed by that point, that I could be a bartender or something like that.
Even like a distiller.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I'll illegally distill in my backyard and sell moonshine.
I feel like any of my passions aren't weird.
Might be to somebody else. Who knows?
I've just always been passionate about building things. Doesn't matter what it is. Passionate about Porsches, motorcycles.
See, people might see that weird. Like, why does this guy like Porsche so much?
I just really like them.
What about him?
Style, like what they are, how they were made. I rode in one for the first time when I was like 15, and then I became obsessed. So now I'm here.
And now you love Porsches.
But now I don't have one. I've had 3, but I don't have one right now.
Not yet.
I have a lot of motorcycles in the garage.
Yeah.
There are like 8 motorcycles below us.
Yes. Not all mine. Not all mine.
2 of them
How
are
many of
mine
them?
and they don't work.
How many of them actually run currently? Like 3? 4?
Yeah. Probably 4. Yeah.
Sorry. Working
That's
on
good.
it. A little
How about
tight,
you, Andy?
little tight financially right now.
What are your weird passions?
Oh man. I mean coffee's a weird passion, I think, but it's really fun. I think I'm just passionate about so many things. Like that's weird. I think that I'm over, like there's like I love this. Like I want to learn how to do that. Like I want to learn how to do that. But it's like, how do I put my foot down and like actually pursue that thing? Like I want to learn how to not make boats but make toppers out of wood that I can camp out of. That's kind of weird. but like use like the strategy of like boat making because it's watertight.
A topper for your truck you're talking about?
And then I can live anywhere.
Do it.
I don't have to pay rent.
What else we got?
Questions?
Or should we end on a boat topper?
Boat topper? No, let's not do that.
Sorry if this is a weird episode. Next week, our normally scheduled programming will resume.
Oh my goodness.
I hope it's helpful to somebody, though.
Yeah. I don't have any other questions I really feel like sharing. That's just all Matt Martinowski being a weird dude again.
We'll have to have him on and he can just be weird and have his own episode. Then he won't ask weird questions.
He'll be really quiet.
We'll get him to talk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, yeah.
Cool.
I hope everybody, if you made it this far, I appreciate it. Listening to me be an absolute kook talking into a microphone right now. But
leave a comment on our Instagram if you made it to the end of the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually want to know because then I want to maybe never mind. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a hug. Comment. Too bad. If you're commenting, you're getting a hug.
He'll make you a coffee in March.
I'll make you a coffee in March.
Sweet.
Let's get it. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you listening once again.
The Link Podcast, sponsored by Carlson Projects.
Amen.